Welcome to Crushing Kayfabe. My name is Jason Garris. Thank you for tuning in. Whole lot to cover this week. Probably won't get to half of what I want to, but football season is coming up. I'm excited about that. My Raiders were undefeated in the preseason, but so what? It's preseason. We'll see what really happens during the season. First game against the Chargers. Personally, I think the Chargers are a little overrated. I think they've got a ton of talent on that team, but I think the coaching staff is just going to let them down again. They made some horrible decisions last year, I felt like, and it really felt like the coaching staff let that team down. So I think that they got some tremendous talent on that team. They're going to be a good team, but I think they need to make some changes in order to go to that next level. You know, we'll see how well the whole McDaniels thing works out in Oakland. I mean, yeah, Oakland, sure. Wow. In Las Vegas, I should say. You know, we'll see that, and we'll see. I still don't think that the Raiders have enough depth, and I'm still not sold on the new defensive scheme, but we'll see how it works in action. I'll give it a chance, you know. I wasn't too impressed with some of the things I saw and was super impressed with some of the things I saw, mostly on the offensive side of the ball, but still need to shore up that offensive line. You know, big shocking move when they let Alex Leatherwood go. Sorry. Not surprising. I'm thankful for the Bears for picking him up off of waivers, because then we don't have to pay that outrageous first round contract. And that's one of the things that really makes me angry at the previous regime, is that the first round picks were horrible. Later round picks were amazing. So we've got some amazing talent that we're paying nothing to, and then some god awful overrated talent that we're paying a lot to. You know, I was kind of surprised that Clelin Ferrell wasn't released. Not that he's a bad player. He's not that bad of a player. It's just that his contract doesn't merit his play. You know, so I was kind of shocked to see them keep him on. You know, he seems to think that he's going to flourish in this new defensive scheme. We'll see. I was surprised. I really was. I thought they were going to get rid of him too. The Kenyon Drake thing didn't really shock me too much, because every back on that roster pretty much outperformed him. And I like Kenyon Drake. It just, he was another big salary that they need to get rid of. You know, mistake from the previous regime, you know. And the problem with the previous regime is a lot of the earlier draft picks, like the first and second round stuff, a lot of those Gruden was responsible for. You know, Mayock wasn't, you know, but he took the brunt of the blame for it, unfortunately, which is really too bad, because he pulled some brilliant pickups in the later rounds. He did some great work. Look at who we picked up. You know, excuse me. You know, Crosby just being a shining example of that. You know, just some really, and Nate Hobbs. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, of the really great pickups we had in the later rounds. So, if anything, I'm kind of hoping he gets another job somewhere, because he didn't deserve to go down with the ship on this one. He really didn't. But, you know, it makes sense. They cleaned house. They got in the new heads that are in there, new coaching staff, new general manager, seem to be addressing one thing that I'm glad they are. It's in the preseason, it looked like they had gotten the penalties down. It looked like there was a lot more discipline on the team. So even if they don't look as crazy and outstanding as they did in the past, you know, at least they're not getting stupid penalties that are going to kill them. And I do like that. So that right off the bat, you know, inspires a little bit of hope in me. Man, every time I see a press conference with McDaniels, the guy just doesn't shout leadership to me. I don't know. I mean, he comes off as really super intelligent, brilliant, but I don't. He's definitely not a rah-rah kind of guy. He's definitely not, fire and brimstone kind of football coach that you expect from some of these guys, like a Bill Parcells and whatnot. So I don't know if he's going to lose the players on down the line, but I hope not. I hope everything works out because they've assembled a really good team on paper, and we'll see how that all fans out. On to wrestling, because like I said, we've got a ton of stuff to talk about in wrestling, but I'm only going to scratch the surface in the time that I have, unfortunately. Raw, we had the return of Kurt Angle. It was kind of cool to see him in his hometown. Had another U.S. Championship defense, which it was Lashley versus Miz. But I like how they're treating this U.S. Championship. I really love the way the emphasis is being placed on the belt and the way they're running these vignettes. It's really good. They're doing a great job of that. Still no explanation as what happened to Miz and when he was kidnapped by Dexter Lumis. Lumis made another appearance at the end. I'm hoping they keep this up because I love Dexter Lumis, so I'm hoping that they keep going this route. I think it's going to be really good. And all this was leading up to Clash at the Castle, which was a really solid pay-per-view. Man, the fans there in Wales went absolutely berserk. They were loud. Was it 62,000, I think? A little bit over. They did a great job, and, some stuff you wanted to see, like Dominic finally turning on his father, which we been talking about for a while. It kind of, when Ray kind of ignored him at the end of the match, it foreshadowed to it. Did a good job there, but I'm happy to see Dominic turn on his father and possibly join Judgment Day, because as a babyface, they were doing him no favors whatsoever, and I hope they explore this whole relationship between him and Rhea Ripley. I think that could be really interesting and breathe some fresh life, some fresh air into the lungs of Dominic. I think that would be real helpful for him. Had some fun stuff going on with Tyson Fury. He knocked out Austin Theory on the way to the ring to cash in on his Money in the Bank, which was kind of awesome. Had a really cool sing along at the end of it with Drew McIntyre and Fury. I enjoyed that because that showed a lot of the charisma that Drew has, and it makes him more relatable. I enjoyed that a lot because they had to do something because he lost to Roman Reigns. So I did enjoy that, and of course we had the appearance of one of the younger Usos there, and for the life of me, I can't even pronounce his name. It was Solo something or other. Wow, I know they've been bringing him up in NXT, but man, when I saw him under the hood originally, I thought it was like Jey Uso. I was like, holy crap, that guy looks. And then it wasn't until the announcers said who he was, I was like, oh, okay, that's the dude from NXT they brought up, and so he's going to be part of the Bloodline too. Jeez, that faction is going to be killer. I was kind of hoping somebody else would come out and turn on in return for him. I thought that, but the crowd probably would have gone absolutely berserk for that. That was it was a fun match. Drew and Roman beat the heck out of each other, and it was played up to the crowd, which was so pro Drew. They were so into Drew McIntyre. It was awesome. Obviously, he's a Scotland boy, so not too far from Cardiff. So it was a good time. I enjoyed the pay-per-view. I did, and it was something I could watch with my kid. Which unlike AEW, nobody was bleeding like a stuck pig all over the place. So no death matches. I can trust WWE to put on some more family-friendly content, even though they did let an F-bomb almost slip through on the air with the whole Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle thing, which was excellent. I can see Triple H saying to Seth, man, we're going to cut it here, but why don't you say a few things, and see what kind of action we got Riddle on. And that's why I think they aired it later, because honestly, I think they weren't sure if they were going to use it, if it would be usable, if it was good. They did kind of the plan segment, and then they filmed a little bit more, and I'm not even sure if they told Riddle ahead of time what Seth was going to say, because his reaction was phenomenal. It was great. It was honest, it was sincere, and it was exactly what they needed to get from Matt Riddle. Showed some fire from him. He wasn't doing his typical stoner personality. He sounded and reacted like a human being, and it was really good. The way that any of us would have reacted if Seth said the things that he did about Riddle's family. So kudos to them. That's another thing that has Triple H written all over it. We had Gunther retain the Intercontinental Championship against Sheamus. Good match, good hard-hitting match, but I knew it would be. I absolutely knew that was going to be good. When you get guys like Sheamus and Gunther in there and tell them just beat on each other, they will, and they will tear the house down. Really good job. Lots of people behind Sheamus. Really entertaining match. So there was a lot of stuff on there in WWE this week to kind of give a thumbs up to. There's a lot of good stuff going on. We go to AEW. We're still we had Daniel Garcia pledge his loyalty to Chris Jericho and the Jericho Appreciation Society. I still think, well, at this point I should say, I still thought that there was going to be a turn, because it's just too much foreshadowing for something not to happen. We had Morrissey, W. Morrissey, come on. Formerly Big Cass, came on, had a squash match, and then signed with AEW, which is cool. I'd like to see him on AEW television. We had a heartfelt promo from CM Punk. A little weird with the Colt Cabana chant that some individuals started in the audience. And Punk had kind of a legitimate heel response to it, but we'll see later on why that is, kind of thing. And then Punk's original trainer and whatnot came out, which I didn't know who this dude was, Ace Steel or whatever. And thankfully for the commenters, they did their job. Commentators did their job, but I was a little bit predictable, but still, it was a good promo, and him going out into the audience afterwards and all that was fun, especially in Chicago. Knowing that All Out was coming up the following weekend was a good moment. It was really cool, Speaking of All Out, pretty crazy pay-per-view. Like I said, a lot going on this weekend. Jeez, Tony Khan had expressed his anger about WWE scheduling stuff on the weekend that All Out was at, and whatever, Tony. If you see yourself as a threat, then of course they're going to do something like that. So you should feel flattered by that, not mad about that. That should flatter you. I don't know if that was planned on WWE's part. Sometimes I think WWE doesn't even pay attention to AEW is doing, because AEW has enough things going on within their locker room for them to destroy themselves and implode, but without them lifting a finger. So I don't think WWE is all that worried about what's going on with AEW, and I don't think they would purposely plan events to sabotage AEW's viewership. I just think that maybe the buy rates were down, and And Khan didn't like that, Speaking of that, Daniel Garcia earlier, we had a kind of a backstage thing where Garcia didn't approve of the way that Jericho cheated to win against Bryan Danielson. So even more dissension with Garcia. And like I said, I think eventually he's got to join up with the Blackpool Combat Club. We had let's see. We had 6-man tag. Not really anything too inspiring there. Ricky Starks lost to Powerhouse Hobbs. I'm kind of shocked at that. But I guess they're trying to build up Powerhouse Hobbs into something. Maybe they can prolong this feud. I don't know. But that was kind of shocking. I hope they do a lot more with these two guys because I'm a fan of both those guys, and I hope they prolong that feud. Swerve in Our Glory, faced off against the Acclaim. A lot of response for the Acclaim. A lot of positive response for Acclaim on this. And a lot of people are wondering, they're criticizing Tony Khan for not calling an audible during the match and putting the belts on the Acclaim. And Tony Khan kind of had an interesting thing in the media scrum afterwards where he said, well, the Acclaim is coming to their hometown. That would be a great place to have a rematch. So I wonder if he's going to put the belts on them there. That would make sense. So that makes total sense. He kind of hinting at it, but that makes sense because Acclaim is hot right now. They are truly some homegrown talent there that they need to capitalize on and push. And especially with Billy Gunn there. For some reason, the chemistry just works. And I think they're probably going to prolong this feud, and I think they're probably going to feud a little bit more with the Gun Club, too. So Acclaim's got some good things on the horizon. They're really killing it. They're really killing it and winning the fans over. So some good booking there, and I'm still saying that that Billy Gunn probably had his hand all over that. So some good stuff there. Toni Storm is the new interim champion. New women's interim champion. So we'll be seeing a rematch between her and Thunder Rosa when Thunder Rosa is healthy. A lot of stuff, like I said this last week, a lot of stuff's coming up about Thunder Rosa. I personally think it's all crap. I don't see her being, poisonous in the locker room or anything. I think that's probably on Hayter and Britt Baker more than anything else. I don't see it. I'm sorry. There's nothing that would indicate to me that she would ever be a locker room issue. I don't know. Jungle Boy lost to Christian Cage with the help of Luchasaurus. Why? This is just weird booking. It makes Jungle Boy more of a babyface, but it also makes him look kind of weak. You'd think he'd get the decisive win over Christian Cage, and they can build him up as one of the cornerstones of the company. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. That's kind of weird booking there, but we'll see, I guess. I had the trio booking of House Black versus Darby Allin, Sting, and the Redeemer. With Sting's team, was Sting's? I should say there was some teasing with Sting facing off against Malachi again, but unfortunately, it looks like Darby rolled up Malachi to get the pin there, which is kind of shocking. I would have thought that Sting would have had that pin, but that's kind of weird booking. We had CM Punk get the championship back off of Moxley, so there we go. It's back in the hands of Punk. And Punk had some very, very interesting things to say in the media scrum. Media scrum for these AEW events are always almost as good, if not better, than the than the events themselves. Tony Khan kind of sat back a lot for this scrum. He kind of didn't have a choice for some of it. Because a lot of times Punk kind of took control of this conference and kind of took control of things. Had a lot to say. And I don't know, Punk is good. I don't know how much of this was a shoot, how much was a work. I don't know. Oh, before I get too much into this, though, previous to this, we had their version of kind of like the Royal Rumble with a wrestler who was obviously MJF in a devil's mask come out and take the chip. So before, like I said, before I get too far into the media scrum, that's a big deal right there, because I've been wondering for a long, long time what the heck is gonna happen to MJF, But they answered my question right there. I mean, that's pretty solid booking. I agree with them bringing him back. Maybe not so much in the way that they did, but this hints at a whole new faction between, with MJF at the head. Basically, this was the Casino ladder match, I should say, almost. And MJF came in as the Joker, with that devil's mask on, was handed the chip. I was gonna say he was about to unmask, but he didn't. Forget who handed him the chip, but it was one of it's actually several masked men had come in before that, jumped into the ring, and one of them climbed the ladder and pulled the chip down, and it was Stokely Hathaway. This, like I say, this reeks of a stable starting up with all the people that Stokely has been signing up with MJF at the head of that. So it'll be interesting. Be some good mouthpieces there, and should be a big stable. Obviously, the Pinnacle's over, but yeah, should be interesting. Now, getting back to the media scrum, Punk went absolutely off during this media scrum. He was eating some pastries from a Chicago pastry place basically the whole time, and drinking during the whole thing. His voice was audibly worn. You could tell he was hoarse a little bit, but that didn't stop him from absolutely going off. I mean, I had spoken earlier about the whole mention of Colt Cabana. Punk went on an absolute tirade on Colt Cabana, and not even referring to him as Colt Cabana. He literally used his real name, Scott Colton, during the entire media scrum, during the entire time that he was up there at the media scrum. So he explained how, I say explained, but he was doing it very loudly with a lot of F-bombs, how he had paid Cabana's bills. Cabana had a bank account set up with his mother, with Colt Cabana's mother. Just kind of said that basically I think he had severed relations with him back in like 2014. So the fact that people were still talking about this was really irking the heck out of him. And then he brought up the EVPs and how they had mentioned something about Cabana, meaning the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, who I pretty much all along been saying are going to be the Achilles heel of this company. Unfortunately, you put these people in charge, and Punk even said, he mentioned how there is an absolute glut of outstanding veteran talent in that locker room. He went down the list, Arn Anderson, Sting, Jake Roberts. He just went on and on the list of the veterans that exists in there that should be having more input. And he basically said that the Young Bucks and Omega haven't drawn a dime, which they really haven't in the more American kind of demographic. Yes, they did business in Japan, but nowhere near on the level of some of these other guys I'd mentioned. And Punk reiterated a lot of what I believe to be true. Why aren't they using these people to appropriately book and appropriately utilize within talent relations? I know they've assigned Tony Schiavone as kind of a talent relations person there. That makes sense. Yeah, from my understanding, it's going to be kind of what Jim Ross had done at WWE. I don't know if Ross had turned down them offering that, but it makes sense that they might talk to him about that too. That would make sense, because since he's done it, he did it during the most popular time of WWE. He was extremely successful at it, so why not talk to him, kind of thing. So the Punk just reiterated a lot of what I said previously about what's going to eventually kill this company. And hopefully Tony Khan takes a lot of what he said to heart. I know that he had apologized at one point, and Punk kind of spoke over him at that point. I don't think he has any ill feelings towards Tony Khan, but he definitely has some ill feelings towards some of the people in the back, And he made a comment about how Tony keeps booking me with these pricks, in reference to specifically MJF and Hangman Page. I think that was a work at that point, because I don't think he has any lack of respect for MJF, and I could see it in the way that they did their promos and worked together. I think he has. Maybe I'm a fool for thinking this, but I think he has the utmost of respect for MJF. I really do. And but Hangman Page, like I'd mentioned in a previous podcast, when those two squared off in the ring in a promo against each other, Hangman Page went off script, and that kind of justified how Punk after that had gone off script, going off on Hangman Page. And Hangman Page has said in other interviews that he doesn't take advice from veteran wrestlers, and Punk reiterated that about how there's a slew of incredible talent backstage at AEW, veterans that have made money in the past and know what they're doing, and that you should be taking advice from them. Punk probably being one of those wrestlers, and I'm sure Punk's ego was hurt, because Punk probably talked to Page before those promos and probably went over some things and probably got poo-pooed on some ideas, and Hangman probably went ahead and did whatever he wanted to. So as much as I enjoy watching Hangman, I enjoy his in-ring persona, even though lately it's not been defined, and his booking's been horrible. So is that a fault of his own? More than likely, from what I'm hearing from Punk, probably. It's very likely. It doesn't sound like he's real receptive to suggestions from some highly successful people, which is really sad, because I think the guy has a boatload of talent, and I think he could be one of those guys that could be the cornerstone of AEW, and I really think he could be a hell of a wrestler, one of the best in the world, if he kind of gets his head out of his asshole and wakes up. And it's a real shame, because, like I said, I really do like the guy in the ring and whatnot. So hopefully he kind of wakes up before it's too late and starts accepting some criticism from some of these veterans that actually know what they're doing. He might have been part of the Bullet Club, but so what? So is Finn Balor. He created it, and Finn can't draw doodah in WWE. It's one of those big fish in a little pond type things. I hate to say, because I at the time I like a lot of what New Japan was doing. I like what they're doing, but It's a different world. It's a different demographic. It's a different culture. As we found out with Forbidden Door, when a lot of people didn't even know who these people were. You know, New Japan was starting to gain some ground in the U.S. They had a strong following. I was watching it on Access for a while there. And then Access dropped them. And the momentum just seemed to completely stop at that point. You know, I haven't watched New Japan lately. Part of the reason is there's just so much wrestling on right now. I can't watch a portion of what I want to. I haven't been able to watch NWA. I haven't been able to watch Memphis Championship. I haven't been able to follow local indies, you know. The TIWF had a great show at the Gibson County Fairgrounds last Thursday, and I still have yet to be able to put any of the videos or pictures up because it's just not enough time in the day to cover and view all these things. It's just insane. You know, so there's a ton of wrestling out there, but where was I? Media Scrum. Okay, yeah. So Punk went off, and it was quite enjoyable to see because it reiterated a lot of what I already know. You know, this Punk an a-hole, kind of, yeah, but he's at least you know what you're getting with him. You know, and you kind of knew. It's kind of weird because you would think Punk would have known what he was getting into with the Young Bucks and with those guys too. You would think so. You really would. And you know, is he a cranky old man at this point? Maybe, but he's got some extremely valid points. And if Tony's smart, he'll listen to him because he could, if he follows some of those points that Punk brought up, he could make the company much more successful. And it ain't about WWE scheduling 2 events on the same weekend as All Out. You know, WWE and WCW did crap like that all the time. They had ratings in the 5s. So guess what? It's not that. You know, it's a lack of quality in your product. It's a lack of cohesiveness in your product. And I like AEW. I enjoy it, you know, just as much, if not more, than WWE, but there are some things that bother me about it, and Punk addressed a lot of those things that bothered me about it. You know, they've got to start listening to their veteran performers and get rid of some of those EVPs. And I always wondered if the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were partially responsible for Cody Rhodes leaving. Because Cody probably had more of the mindset of Punk, and he probably had more of an old school mindset, and was probably trying to convince, you know, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and whatnot, who are his friends, of what works and what doesn't. Because he'd been to the big show, he'd been to, you know, no pun intended, he had been to WrestleMania, he'd been in WWE, and witnessed how multi-billion-dollar corporations run themselves, and he knew. You know, it can't be run by a bunch of fanboys. It can't be run by a bunch of marks. It has to be run intelligently with people who have been in the business and know what they're doing. So I'll kind of, like I said, I could probably talk for a couple hours on just that one segment within the Scrum, but I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to derail myself a little bit here. You know, I got to watch, you know, Toni Storm was on there and talking about her win. Like I said, she's the new interim ladies champion, women's champion, I should say. And you know, Keith Lee and Swerve were on there, talking about there, and that's where they hinted at a possible rematch between them and Acclaim. You know, so we hinted at a few other things down the line here, and hopefully, like I said, Tony Khan seemed a lot less coked out on this, so I think maybe he's learning a little bit. I really, really hope so, because I don't want to see AEW fail. I don't want to see it falter, and the reason is I think AEW round and WWE round makes wrestling better. I think that the competition, if you want to call it, even if it's not competition, just the having an alternative and having another place for people to go is an awesome thing, is a great thing, and I want to see that continue. So, on that note, send tip of the hat out to TIWF. They put on a great show. Gibson County Fairground in Trenton last Thursday did a great job. Like I said, I'm hoping that I can get some of those pictures up. I've got over 400 pictures, and every time I try to upload them to Facebook, it kind of chokes and bombs out of me. So I'm probably going to have to divide them up and upload them at a really slow pace. So I'm sorry about not getting those pictures out. But I'm praying that I can get those out. But once again, hats off to them. Shout out to them. They did another great job. Really entertaining, family friendly. Zay Washington came back and had some good spots and whatnot. It's clear why he's in demand in Memphis, whatnot. He's really good. His size might hold him back a little bit, but it's definitely just all the wrestling. It's funny because you go to an independent show like that and you don't expect the level of wrestling to be that good, but all the wrestlers on there are solid and know how to entertain and know how to please a crowd. So it's for Saturday nights for $5. It's an extremely great deal. If you want to take kids down there, do so. It's a great deal. The owner of it, Randy Bird, puts on a great show, and it's a good time. So it's definitely worth it if you live in the Western Tennessee area. But yeah, kudos to them. Shout out to them. It was a really good show. I'll give a shout out to Lucky Lady Candles. Find them on Facebook and Etsy. Lucky Lady Candles. Shout out to Hooked by Jenna Lynn. Check out her on Facebook. That's my wife. And if you want to buy some of her artwork / crafts, whatnot, you can get that at Then and Now. Then and Now Flea Market in Trenton, Tennessee. Right downtown, right in the square. Can't miss them. So definitely, yeah, check them out at Then and Now in Trenton, Tennessee. And while you're at it, check out Peggy's Attic in Milan, and you can purchase some of my CDs and some of my wife's handcrafted items. Check them out. And also, hey, if you're in the Humboldt area on September 24th, come at about 11 in the morning. Come see me play. I'm going to be part of the fall festival there. I'm going to be part of the Humboldt Fall Festival. So come on down, see me play. Say hi. Let me know how you like the show, and support us there. Sorry, work is sending messages randomly throughout here, and kind of break my stream of consciousness. But yeah, September 24th, coming down, check me out and enjoy the fall festival. And other than that, though, shout out to us. Shout out to Crushing Kayfabe, Crushing with a K, crushingkayfabe.com. And from there, you can get links to our various social media outlets. And check us out on Patreon. Become a patron for just $1 a month. So for $1 a month, you can help us keep the lights on, help the show keep going, help me do what I do. And you can get the show ad-free. You can get the audio from the show ad-free. So that's Crushing Kayfabe, Crushing with a K. And check us out on Patreon.com. Once again, continue to pray and support the people in the Ukraine. Send donations over to UNICEF and the Red Cross and other legitimate organizations. Watch out, there are a lot of scams out there too, but send your money out there to support them, please, because those people desperately need it. And just because it's not in the news anymore doesn't mean it's not happening. Those people are in desperate need. So prayers go out to Ukraine. And hey, thank you everyone for listening to the show, and God bless.